Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today we are joined with the amazing Natty. Hello.
Hi, it's nice to see you.
And you, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. For those of you who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself and say a bit about what you do?
Yes, so my stage name is Nathania and I am a musical theatre actress. I recently did Les Mis, and yeah, now at the moment I'm just really enjoying life, so it's good.
Loving life. So, when you were younger, did you always know that you wanted to go into musical theatre?
Actually, I didn't. I spent a lot of my life doing like pop and R&B, like pretty much more a little bit more along the music route. And then I think it was actually like a little bit later in life where I discovered acting for the first time. And then eventually I discovered, wow, I can sing and act at the same time. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I think from there, that's kind of when my interest for musical theatre started when I was about, I'd say about 19 years old.
Wow. So, what were your steps to be on the stage? Did you go through some musical theatre training?
I went to Mount View in the musical theatre course, the 3 year BA, and I had a really, really good time on it. Honestly, like I feel like I made some really great friends on there. And also, like, I feel like, especially for someone who didn't necessarily grow up with MT, I think I needed a little bit of that background and a little bit of just a little bit of love and a little bit of like slow building information so that I could get a little bit more into musical theatre.
Yeah, nice. So, how was your application process for Mount View?
Ooh, my application process in Mount View was actually a little bit strange. So I'm based in Singapore, and I fly back and forth a lot. So my family is all back there. If they ever
Nice.
see this, I'll say hi to them. Um, and they actually came down to Singapore to audition, but at the time I was actually already doing like a 3 year acting, like straight acting BA in one of the schools in Singapore. And when I found out that Mount View was auditioning, I was like, I was like, try. So I applied, and literally at the time of the application, I think I only applied the like on the day that the applications were shutting, which was a little bit strange, and I probably should have applied earlier, but hey, you can't change some things. And so I went for the audition. I sang my two songs, I think two songs and a monologue it was at the time. And then they were just like, hey, we'll be back in touch. And like I don't know if it was a few months or a few weeks went on, and then eventually got that email that said, hey, you've been recalled for the finals, like for the final recalls. And I was like, oh, okay, this is great. So I flew over and I did those finals.
Amazing. And moving from Singapore to London, how was that for you, the like different cultures?
Oh, it is so different. I think there's such wonderful pros for both of them. I think for Singapore, the big plus, if you ever go visit Singapore, eat the food because the food is immaculate. It is so good, and you can kind of like it's very multicultural as well, similar to London. So you kind of get little bits of all kinds of different cuisines, and it's so nice. I think with London, what's really nice is you're surrounded by a lot of really like-minded people in the industry. So on that front, for me, I feel like I was pulled a little bit more out of my comfort zone. I got to speak to people who inspire me. Also, like you, getting to do all of this like at such a young age as well. Like doing this whole podcast thing. Like so again, like people go out and they do things and they're inspired and they're challenged like pretty early on in life. And I think that that's a really amazing thing. And yeah, I feel really privileged that I got to come over here.
Oh, yeah, nice. And your 3 years at Mount View, what challenges did that bring?
Hmm. Well, I can't dance, so that's the first thing. The first really big thing is I'm a terrible dancer. Um, so I didn't really grow up with much like background in dance, but I did quite a lot of competitive cheerleading when I was younger. So I had like the body awareness, but zero pickup, like absolutely terrible. So when we were learning like all the swing stuff, where we were like, oh, you have to pull a number out of a hat and like go stand in position, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I was, yeah, I think I was free falling for a little bit of the course, but Um, in terms of other difficulties, I think I didn't really grow up with like a musical theatre background, and so I feel like I was really challenged to learn really quick about musical theatre and about like what would suit my voice and what roles I would potentially be up for, and also how to sing in those like varying styles, you know. So that like there was all of that, but also like I think the acting for me was a really big thing. I think I learned a lot of tools that I could use and kind of take forth to approach work and how I want to do it, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, it's hard being surrounded by in that atmosphere where you're just like doing singing, acting, dancing all day, every day. And can we just talk about Swing Project? For those people who don't know, do you want to explain what Swing Project is?
If you don't know Sing Project, I have only one way to describe it, and it is the bane of my existence. No. I think it's such an incredible and useful skill. And honestly, like it's one of those things that takes such a high degree of discipline and of skill to be able to do. And I didn't have that. So, Swing Project, for those of you who don't know, is basically you get taught a routine. And so, for example, for ours, we did one from a chorus line. So, one
We
singular
did a
position,
chorus
all of that.
line.
That's, I don't know how you did it because I suffered on that. Were you good on that? I feel
It
like you
was
can dance.
it was hard, but I have like a
Yeah.
systematic brain, so I wrote it all down and I could just do like colors and tracks, and I had that brain that could kind of just see it. So for me, I enjoyed it, but I had people in my year who were just so lost.
I think you're very lucky that you enjoyed it because me, I was not there. But yeah, basically for our thing, we got different routines. So we had one, and then I think we did something from we did Voulez-Vous from Mamma Mia, but we changed up the choreo so that it was like so this one was slightly more charactered where it was set in like a bar and I think in like maybe like the 1980s, I think it was, and they had different tracks of like different famous people from the time. So you had like oh literally Twiggy. You had Twiggy coming on with some other like fashion forward people as well, and the Craig brothers were there as well. Was it the Craig brothers? Oh, I don't know. But like so different famous people from those time periods. And yeah, and so basically we kind of improvised and we built the tracks, and then eventually you just had to remember what all of the tracks did, and then at the assessment you just get a hat, you pull a number out of the hat, you stand at the track, and then they play the music and you go.
It is the most terrifying experience.
It's a lot. I have no
So
idea how you did it. I don't know how you enjoyed it.
yeah, but for me, we did the whole show of a chorus line.
That's not it. That's cruel. That's how. Just
So not only did we have to know
mine.
the whole one, like that number, we had to know every character's like lines, tracks in the dance, their harmonies.
Oh my gosh, I could not. I actually could not. My brain doesn't help me. I feel like I'd have to prep like a long time to even get remotely close to that. So hats off to you for actually like being able to do that.
It was tough. And there was also the fact that you had to learn four characters, four ensemble tracks. And guess what? I didn't even get picked out, so I learned it all for nothing.
That is so. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It was painful, but the process, in my head, the process was worth it. Like, I could be a swing.
But then, I mean, how many people did you have in your class? And then, how did they? If you didn't like end up going on, then how did they assess you?
So I did two ensemble tracks. So instead of like doing my like hat to the left, I did it to the right. Like I just switched ensemble tracks.
Oh, that is such a shame.
But because there's only like 14 characters in a chorus line, only like 14 people got like a part, if that makes sense. So not everyone had the chance to like we had rehearsals where we'd like swap in for the characters, but I was so lucky that I was D5.
Okay.
That was my
Okay.
ensemble number. So
Okay.
I'll put it on my spotlight.
Good number. Five is a good number. We take it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So besides Swing Project, and the whole college experience, how was leaving college? Like, did you wait a bit before getting your first contract? And how was the agent situation?
I think for everyone who's like gone to drama school, the agent situation, no matter where you're sat, like in terms of like how well you're doing in terms of agent interest, or how much more you wish you could be doing in terms of the agent interest, I think it's just a difficult boat to be in, and it's always like a little bit of a stressful time. I think uh, like I like there's this thing that there's a saying called that says comparison is the thief of joy. And I think, you know, when you're in like such a close competitive environment with a lot of people, it can be a little bit difficult to hear about like different people's agent interests and all of those things. I feel like I was quite fortunate. I personally never spoke about my agent interest to anyone. So all of like our industry liaison would kind of get all of the things come through from either interest from different shows or from like our showcase and things like that. So I think it all kind of went directly to the person, and then it became up to the person as to whether they wanted to talk about the agent interest or things like that. I'm currently with Bloomfield's Welch Management, and they are really, really lovely, and they're really good to me. And I was with them since drama school,
Great.
and they found me through my showcase. I think, like because also at the time we were in like the COVID year, so there was no
Oh,
like live showcases. It was all online.
yeah.
So yeah, a little bit of that chestnut.
Yeah,
Um,
saying that, our college has done digital showcase ever since COVID because they say it's more effective.
I think it's more effective too. I think you just see more like of the person, and yeah, and I can't speak on your behalf, but like I feel like for us, we felt like we had a bit more control over what we were putting out. Like we could choose our songs and
That's
things.
true.
How was it like for you? How was it like for yourself?
So we're actually doing it at the moment because I'm in my third year at college, and we're picking a song and a monologue, and it all gets filmed professionally, and it will be put onto a database with our headshot, a link to our song, a link to our monologue, and that gets sent to as many agents as the college is in contact with. And basically they can just like scroll through, click on what they want to watch because agents are busy and they can't come to all these showcases all the time. So having that system has made my college has realized that that's the most effective way to gain agent interest.
Mm, that's good. Have you chosen your monologues and songs yet?
I've not chosen my monologue, but I have
Okay.
ideas on songs, so we're
Mm.
halfway there.
What kind of voice do you have? Like, would you say you're a bit more like legit, like soprano, or like are you more like poppy, like belter gal, or
I'd say
what
I'm
is it?
more like pop rock, like new musical vibe.
Okay, that's really exciting. That's really cool. There's
Yeah.
a lot of work coming up, so it's perfect. It's a perfect time to be doing this.
Coming out of college, what was your first performance contract?
So my first performance contract after leaving college was Be More Chill over at Shaftesbury Avenue. Yeah, and it was honestly it's a crazy show. I got to do it with I think like quite a few pretty well known like faces in the industry as well. So I did just feel like immensely privileged to have gotten the chance to do that show, and it was a lot of fun. And also like I was in that sense as well, because it was my first contract, it was kind of nice that it wasn't too long. It was only like a 5-week contract. I was just replacing Renee Lamb, who was moving on to something else at the time. And yeah, so it was a cute little short contract. I got to enjoy, live life, and yeah.
Nice. What is your favorite memory from Be More Chill?
Oh, my favorite memory. Uh, so I don't know if everyone knows this, but like whenever you're watching a show, when people are like ad-libbing in the back or things like that, like usually they're not really acting. Like usually they're just talking about like whatever's going on, or they're just like chatting about some dumb stuff, like really they trying to corpse each other and make each other laugh. Like it's always something like that. So on this occasion, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called the coin game.
No.
And basically there's a coin that gets brought onto stage, and the aim of this game is to try and not end up with the coin. So you have to keep passing it on stage so that you don't end up with it. And it can span over however long they indicate. So it can be either like it can be like one act long, or it could be the entire show's length, or it could be till the end of this scene. And so they give you all of those parameters, and then you just go. And because Be More Chill also had like dancers in it, and there was this amazing moment during Pitiful Children, and I think that song's quite like tectonic in like all of like the action and stuff. And so there was this amazing pass where like where because usually you just pass it in dialogue because it's easier to pass, but choreo is a tough one. So it was during this section where they like joined hands and they made like a big cross across the stage, and then they like rotated. And when they did that, someone passed the coin to another one of I think it was Eloise who passed the coin to another cast member, Chris. And he just because you're not allowed to reject it either, because if it drops on stage then you're caught out. So she passed it to him, and honestly it was the most like triumphant moment because it was smack at the end of when they said that of the set parameter when it could be passed. So I think that was a really really fun memory, like just playing that game and doing all of that silliness was a great time.
That is so brilliant. And did your family come and see all the way from Singapore the show?
Oh, unfortunately not. I think Singapore's quite far away,
So
and
far.
I think at the time as well, it was quite fresh out of COVID.
Oh
So
yeah, of
if they did come,
course.
they'd have like a 2 week quarantine while they were coming back. So unfortunately, not all of them got to come, but my sister came and surprised me. My eldest sister came and she surprised me, and I just cried at stage door because I had no idea that she was in. And like all of my friends hid it from me, and she even printed out like little like cutouts and put them on like chopsticks of like all of my family and my dog, like of like their heads. Just put them on sticks and brought them around. It was such a special moment.
That's so cute. Oh, bless. And then you went on to do Les Mis. How long after Be More Chill was Les Mis?
That was so I think I finished Be More Chill around like right at the beginning of September, and
Yeah.
then they started rehearsals in early October. So I only had like about a month to wait between those contracts. But but I think in terms of the auditions, I only found out that I'd been cast for the part of Eponine 3 weeks before they started rehearsals, which is
Wow.
very last minute. So yeah, I don't really know what went on there, but I only had my first round audition for the Les Mis tour 2 days after I finished Be More Chill, and literally by midweek the week after I booked the job. So it was a bit of a whirlwind and it was a little bit crazy, but I wouldn't trade it.
Wow. And what was your reaction when you found out that you got the role of Eponine?
Well, I looked. Everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was absolutely crazy in the middle of Liverpool Street when I was screaming on the phone to my agent and crying. I know I'm a big crier, unfortunately. Yeah, but it was just
Not a bad
that
thing.
one was that. Hey, we'll take it where we can. Um, that one was really interesting actually because I literally did my audition. I was on my way to babysit one of my friend's little puppies while she was
Oh,
out, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm happy to dog sit. Love dogs." So I just ambled my way over there, and by the time I got off the bus to go walk to the house, I got the call from my agent, and I was like, "Oh," and I was just really happy.
wow. That must have been such like a rewarding moment after the like audition process. Was that tedious?
It it was actually a really it was a pretty straightforward process, I think, in terms of like my way. And I know that it's not always like that in the industry. Like I know that as an actor in castings, you like to get tossed back and forth between lots of different things. But fortunately for this one, it was very straightforward. I went in, I did my first round, I got recalled, did my second round, and then the third round was a slight complication. So the third round was supposed to be my final, um, but I went in and I was there with the Marius and the cassette. So I was there with Will and Paige at the time, who were just called in so that we could have like a chemistry check for like Heartful of Love. And the room that we were in was massive. Like it was about the size of like the of a West End stage,
Wow.
and it was cushioned on the sides, and so it really didn't help me very much because her stuff sits quite low, and at the time sat quite low for me as well. So I feel like at times like they couldn't really hear me very well, and so unfortunately they sat me down after at the end of that day, and like Paul Waller, the casting director, came and sat me down, and he said to me, he said, "So there's good news and bad news," and I said, "What's the good news and bad news?" And he said, "So it's not a no," and I was like, "Oh, but it's not a yes." And he said, "So you've been put on hold, and basically, what we want you to do is we want you to just go back, watch the movie, and come back. Because some also, I forgot to mention, somewhere within that particular audition, I really embarrassed myself in front of Cameron McIntosh and
Oh
basically
no.
admitted I'd never seen the show. So so I think maybe it was a little bit of that and a little bit of the room that basically made them put me on hold. And so they scheduled my second final round audition for 2 days later, and it was at the Cameron McIntosh offices just upstairs of the Sondheim, now in Sondheim. Um, and so I went in. It was we. I worked with the creative team for about like half an hour. Then we sat down and we waited for Cameron because he's a busy man. And eventually he rocked up. He came in. I did my material. I had to learn some material on the spot that I did not know and I wasn't prepared to learn. But I think that's the fun bit, isn't it? It's kind of just like seeing how you adapt under pressure and all of those things. So I was very fortunate. I did my audition and then I went, I guess I'm just about to go babysit a dog. And that was literally hours before I left the room. And I left the room and then an hour later I got the call. So yeah, it worked out
Wow.
well.
It's so funny because you can think it goes one way and then they actually are thinking like something completely different. It just goes to show that like you do not know what like the people judging the audition are thinking and what they're looking for.
Yeah. And also I think one thing that a lot of people do forget as well is that like these casting directors, it is in their best interest to cast the show well. So they want to see the best from you, even if like maybe they've seen like 20 to 30 people that day and they're absolutely exhausted. So maybe they don't have the energy to like kind of put on like the friendliness or the persona or the smile or all of those things. But I think deep down, I think as actors, you have to kind of recognize as well that like they do want the best for us and they want to see us succeed. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So how was Les Mis? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I had the best time. It was so I liked it so much. I did it 2 times in a row. So yeah, it was
Amazing.
really good. I was over on the tour initially, which I think is a great experience. I think for everyone like going into the industry, like I think you should tour because like it's really fun just kind of getting to live on the road for a little bit, but also you get to explore places and like not really on your dime because you know depending on where you go, you get like per diems if you go internationally. If you're in London, like you get to explore little bits of London that you don't necessarily think you would not be like top of your bucket list or something, for example. And there's always something to love about a place. So yeah, definitely go tour if you ever get the chance to do it. Um, I loved Les Mis. I loved both of the renditions. I think I learned so much on each of those contracts. I did about 9 months of my initial run as Eponine, and I think that for me, a lot of that was kind of getting comfortable in my own skin because I feel like as a fresh grad, sometimes one of the hardest things is to have the confidence to kind of step up and to take your place, you know. And yeah, and honestly, I just feel like when you do kind of get comfortable in that, that is when the beauty happens. That is when the magic unfolds, and you can start to make choices. You can start to surprise yourself and all of these wonderful things.
Yeah, it's really great. So to someone who is wanting to go into musical theatre and wanting to pursue a performance career, what one piece of advice would you give them that you would have liked to hear when you were their age?
Ooh, so I have two. One is very tailored to your question, and then one that's just a mantra that I always go by.
Go for it.
So yeah, so okay, I'll start with the one that doesn't doesn't really link to the question at all. Um, so one thing that I like to live by, because I did grow up with like a little bit of social anxiety when I was younger, and it's gotten a lot better. But one
Good.
thing that my dad would say to me is that you don't have to be confident, you just have to act confident.
That's so
And
important. Yeah.
we're all actors,
Yeah.
so it's really good that we practice that skill a little bit. Um, and I think the other thing that actually links to your question a little bit better is that you are enough, that you absolutely are enough. And there is a whole multitude of people in the world who will tell you that you aren't, and who will tell you to retrain, or all of that jazz. But I think it's one of those things that you need to recognize that you are enough. And once you do have that, then you build that confidence in yourself to kind of, to be able to do wonderful things, like you having the confidence to take on starting an entire podcast series. Like that's incredible. And you did that. So you are enough. And everyone has like a little bit of that in them as well. So yeah, it's just
Well, thank
it's
you.
important. It's important.
That is such lovely advice, and I think everyone listening would really appreciate that. Natty, I have one last question for you, which I ask everyone that comes on the podcast. If you were to nominate someone in the performance industry, you could either know them or just know of them, to come on the podcast and I'll reach out to them. Who would it be?
Lucy Jones.
Lucy Jones.
Jones, baby. I love my girl. She's great.
She would do a great episode. We need to get her on. We're actually trying to find a date, so it's going to happen.
I'm in her house right now.
Are you actually?
She's such an angel. Obviously, because I'm back and forth between Singapore and the UK a lot, so she's been an absolute angel. And just let me crash hers. She's incredible.
So
Yeah.
nice. So nice.
Oh,
Well,
well, I
tell
mean,
her,
also, I hope that you do get to interview her.
yeah, tell her to sort her dates out.
I have never met anyone who is as busy as Lucy Jones. I
She
don't
is,
know how she breathes.
I don't know how she does it because her diary is jam-packed. I don't know how she does it.
It is impact. No, yeah, it's incredible. But I feel like that's only that like she deserves it. She deserves to be busy, because
Oh yeah.
like that's only testament to how incredible and talented and wonderful she is. So yeah, it's just, yeah, I think you'll have the best episode. I think you'll have the best time talking to her. She's amazing.
Yeah, will be great. Thank you so much, Natty. To everyone listening, go and check Natty's pages out, see what she's up to at the moment, and see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.